host, Greg Williams, joined again by our wonderful co-host, David Walls of the Family Foundation for another Family Foundation Friday. David, thanks again for joining us. I know you got a lot on your plate that's going on now. There's a lot going on we want to talk about, but welcome, first of all.
Yeah, no, good to be with you, Greg.
And you're going to be doing some traveling.
Yeah.
So that's coming up for sure.
Yeah.
Just tell the folks a little bit about what you're doing.
Well, just looking forward to an opportunity to spend some time with family and some important policy conferences with some of our national allies. And I spoke to a great group in Bowling Green, actually, the night before we recorded this. So I traveled this morning, Greg. And got
You
to
look great, man.
Got
You
to
look
visit
great.
the newest Buc-ee's in Kentucky with about apparently 5,000 other people. But no, it's good to be traveling sometimes.
Well, you were in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and I had a conference in a church in Bowling Green, Missouri.
Oh, okay.
This last weekend,
Okay.
and came back and we saw a new Buc-ee's on the way out there. But this one was in Indiana or Illinois, I think it was. You know, 'cause they moved a little further north. And amazed, there were like 200 gas pumps.
Oh my
On
goodness!
these things,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And there was only like 2 cars at the gas pumps.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it, but I think they figured something out. Of course, you said the food was great. I'm not eating there, but my kids have. They love it. So great. Good to have you again. We're wrapping up what one side calls Pride Month, and we've called it, as graciously as we can, but as truthfully as we can, Child Grooming Month. And one of the things that's happened, I know you want to talk about, is the celebration of the Dobbs anniversary that overturned Roe v. Wade, but a reminder that we need to keep the battle going for that reason. So share a little bit with our listeners about what's going on with that.
Yeah, you know, this is just on Monday this week, Greg, June 24th, was the second anniversary of the Dobbs decision that saw Roe v. Wade come down. And it was a monumental decision. It was an overturning of the most egregious Supreme Court decision in our nation's history that, directly resulted in 65 million, probably even more than that, precious preborn image bearers killed in the womb. But as you and I have talked, and I think hopefully most of our listeners recognize, the battle to protect preborn life has only gotten more intense and only continues to get more intense as we move forward. We also celebrate that here in the Commonwealth, the Human Life Protection Act that triggered the trigger law prohibiting abortion went into effect, and it's withstood some different legal challenges, but our pro-life laws are still in effect in Kentucky. I believe, Greg, the stats are that there are 25 states that have pro-life laws that, at least at a minimum, protect preborn life at 15 weeks or sooner. Obviously, that's not the goal. The goal is to lead to the abolition of abortion here in Kentucky and across the nation. But we do need to pause and remember and thank the Lord for what He's done.
Yes.
The stats are, that there's an estimated over 200,000 preborn lives that are being protected by the pro-life laws that have been passed, like here in Kentucky and other states. But look, we've seen some election results, whether it be some of these ballot initiatives that have not gone the way of the pro-life movement since Dobbs was overturned. Obviously, we're in the middle now of a presidential election.
Yes.
I believe we're going to have the first presidential
debate
happening
Don't hold your breath,
this
but we
week, or it just happened. We'll see how that goes.
Yes.
Life is going to continue to be a front and center issue. The Democratic Party is increasingly, day by day, making radical pro-abortion agenda a central theme of the campaign. The Biden administration is very clear that they are making this a central theme of the campaign. I saw an article recently, Greg, that said that pro-abortion groups are preparing, I think, to spend something like $140 million in this upcoming election cycle to promote pro-abortion candidates.
Killing of babies.
So as we reflect on 2 years, and some of my big takeaways continue to be that we have got to do more to disciple the body of Christ, to understand a biblical worldview at the most foundational level. Because when you understand that, then you understand why it's so important to get out and get involved and be engaged, whether that's politically or in other ways, supporting our pro-life ministries, our pregnancy care centers, all the various ways that we're called to be involved to stand for life.
Well, and our good friends over at Planned Parenthood are playing a role in this as well, right?
Right. Well, they're continuing to expose why we've got to continue to stand for life. And just because, for example, we have a law prohibiting abortion here in Kentucky, the reality is there's thousands of women that are going across state lines and killing their preborn children in other states. We have the continued issue of the chemical abortion pill, and even though we've got laws that are supposed to protect against that, we know that you can go online and order these deadly pills from India and from China.
Right.
And but the story that you're alluding to, Greg, in Planned Parenthood is out of Missouri, where their Attorney General's office has, I believe, filed a lawsuit against Planned Parenthood because one of these exposed videos that where we see the nefarious activities, nefarious is probably putting it politely,
that's a nice way.
Of Planned Parenthood, where they were essentially admitting they are trafficking, underage minors against their parents' wishes, hiding it from parents.
Against the state law.
Right, against the state law that they're in. And I think this is just a really good reminder that the abortion trafficking issue continues to be a major concern. And there have been states that have looked, our neighbors to the south, Tennessee, and I guess we congratulate them, Greg, on their
NCAA championship.
On their NCAA championship. But I'm also going to congratulate them that they passed a law to start the process of trying to protect children from and to stop those that are seeking to traffic their citizens across state lines to kill preborn children. There's other states, and I hope that's an issue that we can look at here in Kentucky in the upcoming legislative session. So it's a lot to take in, but the takeaway is we need to pause, we need to be thankful, and we need to recommit ourselves each and every day to stand for life as we seek to honor the Lord.
If nothing else, you mentioned a couple things people could do, but one of them, please be praying.
Yes.
Especially as we think of life being in the image of God, which is, as Christians, we're supposed to know that and believe that, which means that every life is given from conception on is life from God. Regardless of any issues, it's life from God, and we should protect it. Along those lines, you talked about trafficking, and we talked a little bit about pride or child grooming. Pornhub. We've talked about that before, and the law that was so strong. You talked about it from your home state of Texas. I found out recently that Texas was actually the 8th state at which the laws had been there, the biggest, but the laws had come in there and Pornhub had moved out. Kentucky, after our law was passed, there are now 4 others with Kentucky to bring it to, I think it's 13 now, that Pornhub is moved out. That is an example, folks, of good laws bringing about great change. Bringing about great change. And let me just share something that happened recently. There was a hidden video by an investigative organization that said that Pornhub and their senior editors and writers were literally working to groom younger children and gave the scenario. Suppose you're a 12-year-old boy and you're still unsure. Why wouldn't we market something like that and put it out there? How dangerous and destructive is that? And so, again, good laws, we got to keep them going. The battle continues.
No, that story is it's sickening. But this is the reality of what's going on. And just to remind our listeners, how does the law that passed here in Kentucky and others that Pornhub is reacting to, essentially what these laws do is just require meaningful age verification to ensure that children don't have
are protected
and don't have access. And what you're seeing is, the largest pornographic provider in the world saying we don't want to follow the law, we don't want to see children protected. And because they know that those that are accessing those sites don't want to have to go through age verification.
Even the adults.
Right.
Well, go. You're not going to get my information because it could come, which tells you that people in their conscience, as the Bible talks about, know that this
Right.
stuff is wrong. I don't care how legal we make any of this.
Yeah.
When it goes against God's word, it's immoral and it's wrong.
Yeah.
And we've got to love them, but we've got to stand on that truth.
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting thing too, Greg. With most of these messages that they're being popped up to try to scare their users and saying, "Hey, we're going to be shutting down access in your state," and a lot of them, they're encouraging folks to go contact their legislators.
Yes. Yeah.
And express, being upset that the fact that the legislature took action. Right.
Yeah.
So it'd be
Yeah.
interesting to
How
see
you
how
gonna-
many people. No, I actually had a conversation about this. I don't know that I've heard a lot from legislators, but here's what I would tell people to do instead: is this is a good opportunity to reach out to your state legislator, both your House member and your Senate member.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar with who they are, you can go to our website at kentuckyfamily.org and click over to find your elected officials.
Yes.
And contact them and say, thank you for taking a stand on this issue this session. It's having a real impact. We so many times, Greg, especially during the legislative session, we're, encouraging folks, support this bill, support this bill, support this bill. And sometimes we can forget to say, it's a good idea to thank them when they've done the right thing.
Yeah.
And as you and I were discussing, in Kentucky, this issue actually passed unanimously.
Yep.
There was not a single vote against it in either chamber.
Legislator, right.
The governor signed it, so I can with confidence say you can reach out to your state
Every
legislator.
single one of them. That's
and
right.
thank
I was
them.
going to say that. And speaking of that, you can call or talk to or email any one of them and say thank you, as you just said, because every one of them voted for this. It is common sense, but it goes deeper than common sense, David. We can have some common sense that sometimes goes against the word, but in this case, it's right in line with the word. And we want to make sure the word guides us as Christians.
Yeah.
Speaking of legislators, I know you've got some things coming up here not too long. You've got some town halls coming up, right? You want to share with our listeners what those are.
We're excited. We've been working on these for a while, and John Razor on our team, who does church outreach, done a great job connecting us with some churches that were willing to host these. But coming up on July 30th, here in Lexington at Anchor Baptist Church, we're going to have our first, what we're calling a legislative update town hall. And we're just going to be sharing information about some of the laws that were passed this session, looking towards a lot of the important issues that you and I have talked about that didn't get across the finish line this session. We'll be spending some time to educate folks about the important school choice constitutional amendment, Amendment 2, that will be on the ballot. And then we're excited. We'll have some pro-family legislative leaders joining us here in Lexington. We'll have our good friend, State Representative Matt Lockett, who was on our program not that long ago, State Representative Jennifer Decker. So excited about that, July 30th in Lexington. We're also going to host one August 8th in Sonora, and then a little bit later in the year in September 12th in Somerset. And folks can get all the details about those events and register. They're free events at kentuckyfamily.org.
Come and meet them. Come and ask some questions. Hear what's going on. It'd be great. And you mentioned this. It is out now. Let me show you. We got a little visual here if you're watching the video. There, David. Show them that one, man. We got a couple of different ones here. But Yes on 2, that is going to be Amendment 2 on the general election here in Kentucky. And it is to give parents and students more educational choice.
And essentially allow the General Assembly to have all the options on the table to set education policy in Kentucky. So, and folks can learn more. There's an organization that set up a website, KentuckyStudents.org. That will have some more information. We've been sharing information about it as well. But it's going to be a really important issue on the ballot here in Kentucky.
And so we'll continue to alert you to that and keep pushing that Yes on 2. So we want to thank you for that. Thanks for our listeners. Thanks for the ones that view and listen and contact us. We really appreciate that. Thank you for your prayers. Thanks always to the Lord. Make it a great day, and God bless in the love and lordship of Christ. I'm Greg Williams with David Walls, and you're listening